Hey Chris, how are you?
Paul, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Thank you so much for chatting with us at Shutter 16 Magazine today.
It's good to be here.
Awesome. We have to talk about this great new album you have, the Dio album. I'm so excited for it.
Thanks for
Coming
the good
out
review.
April 7th. Tell us a little bit about how you got the idea to do this kind of album.
Well, I've been working on playing vocal melodies on my guitar for a few years now, and I actually made a list of all the singers that I wanted to copy, and Ronnie James Dio was the first name that I wrote on the list. And I'd been one of the melodies that I'd been working on actually for years was "Long Live Rock and Roll,"
Okay.
and I had been teaching it to my students. And of course, the teacher is always the one who learns the most. And it, it's deceptively simple. It's just a few notes if you write them down, but all the elements of expression that you need to bring it to life were. I had to find those in a way that I wouldn't normally play the guitar. It's not the same as playing a scale up and down. And so really had to dive deep into pulling those elements of expression out of it. And after a couple of years of that, I started to feel more and more of a confidence and to the point where I was really just enjoying it. And I thought I might want to do a whole record of this stuff. That'd be a blast. And of course, it's a it's Dio is such a enjoyable artist to choose, not only because of him, but because of the three main bands that he was a part of. I mean, to be able to play music from Rainbow, Black Sabbath, and Dio solo stuff, that's a such a nice catalog to be able to work with.
Absolutely. Some of the stuff he did with Rainbow, those are some of my favorite songs ever. I'm a huge Dio fan as well. So I remember camping out way back in like 83 for tickets to the Sacred Heart tour when I was a
Yeah.
teenager. So that was the super cool songs. But there's so many of his songs. Did you have a hard time choosing? What kind of went into the process for the song selection?
I would say, I mean, of course, I tried to keep it in thirds, tried to have about a third Sabbath, a third Rainbow, a third Dio, and there were some that would make it to the list that I'd take them out and put them back in. And I think the thing that helped me decide was some of the songs that I almost did. For example, like Stargazer, Light in the Black, uh, that's the one, Sign of the Southern Cross. Like I love all those, but all those have pretty long instrumental sections,
Okay.
and I wanted to focus on the vocals. So I
Sure.
thought, I would actually, I'd rather do like Man on the Silver Mountain, which doesn't really have much of a lengthy guitar solo, but has a lot of singing. It's the Dio album. I want to focus on what Ronnie did, and rather than have like the long guitar solo. And there's still plenty of solos, so
Sure.
wasn't hurting. But I tended, and plus I could put more songs in the album that way because the longer songs. If I did I don't know how long Sign of the Southern Cross is, probably 7 minutes or something. For that amount of time, I could have two shorter
Right.
songs.
Understandable. Now, you said you were kind of working on the guitar techniques for a couple years, and it's amazing when you listen to hear really, your guitar just emulates his voice so well, and it's just it's just amazing because I've really never heard anything quite like that before. Is you know, was it just practice? Was it just something that you set out like I'm going to do this and make this work, or were there certain techniques you thought, hey, I could do it this way or that way?
It's a different technical approach. Um, and some of the main discoveries is that when when you take guitar lessons and you know how to play, you're primarily taught to play vertically. There's six strings, so you make use of that. You keep
Right.
your hand in one spot. If you want a higher note, you go to the next higher string. But when you play that way, you get that next note, you just hit it right on the head. And singers often don't hit a note right on the head. They slide up to it, or they kind of somehow glissando their way up to it.
Right.
And so that makes more sense if you play horizontally on the neck, because
Okay.
then you can slide it. And you can just use your finger. You don't necessarily need a slide. So I had to kind of relearn where the notes are horizontally. And of course, I'd been playing a long time, so it's not totally a foreign land.
Sure.
But but to really become fluent with playing horizontally as opposed to vertically, just makes it easier to get a lot of the expressive elements that a singer has. The other thing was pick harmonics, because that, if you kind of pinch the string with the pick, you can shape it and imitate the vowel sounds that a singer will have, because singers might do e, ah, oo, get these different vowel sounds, and you can kind of shape that with the pick, and that's really helpful as well. So it's funny, because I think the style of guitar player that I'm, at least in the past, have been known as, and a lot of the people that are attracted to my style, we tend to be scale practicers. And that's really can be dangerous, because when you practice a scale, often the only thing that's changing is the note itself. So you might go from an E to an F to a G, but all the other elements of expression are kept very consistent. You're using the same pick attack, the same length, the note is the same length. The texture is the same. So there's all this sameness, and then the only thing that's changing is the note. But with singers, you're looking for contrasts everywhere you can get them. If you play a note with one pick attack, you want the next note to be different, and that creates something that sounds more like a word. And if you play a short note, you want the next note to be long, and so that's not what happens when you play scales. It really takes some getting used to, coming from scale practicing land. You kind of have to undo those habits. And to me, it's a joyful process, because it sounds so good.
Right. It does. It's just so amazing. And when you listen to it, it's, you're listening for those little nuances that Ronnie would put into the vocals, and then you hear them on your guitar work, and it's like, whoa, wow, he nailed it. It's so awesome. Just amazing work on it. I really have to say it's mind blowing to think that this could be done. Now, you mentioned that you had a list of artists, and Ronnie was on the top of that list. So would you consider doing another album in this style in the future?
Oh man, like I could do that for the rest of my life. Yeah, and on the list, I mean, for example, it would be such a blast to do like a Van Halen album and do all the David Lee Roth parts. But in general, the thing I've discovered about copying singers is I'm much more likely to have success at translating a vocal to guitar if the vocal melody is fairly dramatic.
Okay, that makes
if
sense.
There's a lot of melodic movement, if there's high notes or low notes. For example, on a previous album I did, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John. It's easy to have success with that, because he's, da, 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 the blue, these big giant leaps.
Sure.
And so even if you don't play with any expression, if you just play the melody, even without any expression, it still is recognizable, because the melody has so much character in its basic structure. And then, hopefully you can go in and put those elements of expression in and get it, a step or two deeper. But the hardest thing would be to do, like, if I had to copy Bob Dylan.
Okay.
Where you have like a melody that's primarily one note, and it's more reliant on the lyric or the the shaping of the words, or or just the texture of the voice. To be successful with that on an instrument, that's going to be a lot harder to copy than something that's got a movement to it. So, and that's, I would say it's the exact opposite. As a singer, if I had to copy a singer with my real voice, I'm going to have way more luck copying a Dylan song than I will with a Dio one, because I don't have the facility to hit those high notes.
Sure.
But on guitar, those limitations are taken away. The high notes aren't any problem; they're all there. So a lot of the singers that are the hardest to copy as a singer, in a way, they're the easiest to copy on guitar.
That's neat. That's cool. And somebody who never made it past Mel Bay book 2. So I appreciate all of that knowledge and information. Now, did you get a chance to know Ronnie at all or work with him at all?
I only met him once, and it was a nice meeting, and it was there were surprising things about it. I met him in Japan. I was studying in Japanese at the time, and I went to see Deep Purple, and it was the Deep Purple's tour where they had an orchestra. And halfway through the show, Ronnie steps on stage, and I had no idea he was even going to be there. I was like, "Wow, Ronnie James Dio, cool!" and then he played a song called "Love Is All," which I knew at the time. I knew nothing about that song. I'd never heard it before. And I'm listening to it going like, this sounds like a Penny Lane style, like real bouncy, beatly pop, 60s pop kind of song with all this orchestration. And I was almost expecting to wake up like, yeah, the weirdest dream last night. Ronnie James Dio was singing, with an orchestra, and of course now you can go to YouTube and One Step Stranger, he's a cartoon frog.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it's a really odd moment, but it's a great song. His vocal on it is unbelievable. I recorded that song for this album and used it for the Japanese bonus track.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but anyway, that that happened, and then I got a chance to go backstage afterwards, and anytime I'm backstage with my heroes, I'm kind of like, I try to like lay, to hold back a little bit, let them, give them their space. And Ronnie just came right up to me and went, "Oh man, it's such an honor to meet you." He was like the nicest guy in the world. And I don't know, I think I was fine, but I don't know if I have, I don't have the tools to be that outwardly nice. It was amazing. Like it was, he was just really super, super warm, friendly, nice, open, wonderful.
Awesome. I've heard that through so many people over the years who've got the opportunity to meet him, that he was just a fantastic human being. Now, are you going to get a chance to play any of these songs live, or do you have like any kind of shows coming up specifically where you'll get to play these instrumental tracks?
Well, I'm pretty busy this year because we're going to start doing the Mr. Big, what is it, the Big Finish tour. So that,
Right.
I'm going to sort of shift to that pretty soon. But for doing the Ronnie stuff live, the trick would be I would have to have a bigger band than I usually have.
Okay.
I think it would be really good to have a rhythm guitar player. So sometimes, a lot of times I might be able to arrange a song where I can sort of, toggle back and forth, play the vocal melody and quickly jump over to the rhythm part, fill in the holes. But I think for the Dio stuff, and for stuff that's more, straightforward metal, you kind of need that wall of rhythm guitar the whole time. So I'd have to figure out who's going to play and the problem is I'd be jealous. Because I had such a good time playing those rhythm parts that I'd be looking over going like,
Want to play that too?
maybe you should do the vocal and I'll do the rhythm. So no specific plans, but
Right.
that would be the challenge, is like, how to put the instrumentation together so it really sounded full. Plus I might need two, in a way, two singers, on guitar, because there's a lot of parts that have harmonies.
Sure. Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense for a live setting. Now, since you brought up Mr. Big, I'm going to ask you because obviously everybody's been kind of hoping for some kind of reunion and final send off for years, or not even a final send off, but keep going, keep making music and playing it. But we're excited nonetheless to hear the tour plans, and you're going to be hitting Asia in the summer, so you're going to be super busy with that. I'm assuming you're going to be playing all the hits and everything that people want to hear for a final send off tour.
Of course. Well, the plan is to play the Lean Into It album in its entirety, which we've never done.
Okay.
And and of course the other thing is having Nick DiVirgilio on drums. I was able to jam with him. We did a session together at Sweetwater Sound about a year ago, and it felt so good playing with him. He reminded me of Pat Torpey's drumming style, and the other big part of that is that Pat was a big part of our background vocal harmonies, and Nick's a lead singer, you know, as well as being a drummer. So, you know, I felt that he was the guy, and I brought his name up to Billy and Eric, and I came with an idea because they both, you know, saw videos and thought he was great, but just to make sure, I actually like re-recorded some of the songs from Lean Into It. I just played guitar and bass, just you know, rough version. And I sent it to Nick, and I said, Nick, you know, if you've got time, if you have some time, play drums on this and sing the lead vocal. And he did. He played, you know, sang the lead vocal while playing drums live, and then sent the video to me and Eric and Billy, and we're all like, this is great, you know. And that's essentially what Pat did. Like he would sort of double up on Eric's part to strengthen the live sound. And you know, to know that Nick can do that, you know, that really gives us a good shot of confidence.
Awesome. And I'm assuming that we're going to have some US tour dates announced after things are wrapped up, and you know, you can make a final plan.
Yeah, the plan is to do the summer tour. Nick had some stuff booked already with his band, and
Okay.
so we're going to take a break and then come back and hit other territories in 2024.
Okay, awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I got a chance to see Eric's one of his solo shows. I think it was 2021, right after shows started coming back from COVID, and I've been thinking about because he's, you know, of course he talked a little bit about Mr. Big, and he, you know, he played obviously Mr. Big songs during the shows, and I'm thinking, oh boy, that would be pretty cool. And now it's happening, so we're all very excited about that, and we can't wait to hopefully catch a show when you get those US tour dates down. But in the meantime, we're going to dive deep into this Dio album and enjoy that.
Right on.
Thank you so much, Paul, for taking the time to chat with us today and fill us in on all the stuff with the Dio album and Mr. Big. And I hope everybody checks it out because it's such a unique album, and it's just, you know, there's not a lot of that out there at all. It's something different, and I think people who are fans of fans of Dio and all his work with Sabbath and Rainbow, and just fans of the guitar in general are going to really love this one.
Right on. Well, thank you so much. I had a great time making it.
Thank you, Paul. We'll have to chat again when you do the next one.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.